Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with Strato, and today Strato took a pretty big blow. One of the main developers has quit the project. So here's the full statement from Lynx. If you wanted to read through it all, feel free to pause the video. Lynx says, "It is with mixed emotions that I announce my departure from Strato. After much consideration, I've decided to step away from console emulation development, and as a result will no longer lead the Strato project nor contribute to it. While this decision was not made lightly, I believe it is the right time for me to step back and move on to other things." So fortunately, Strato has not shut down. It's still active. Unfortunately, though, it just lost its lead developer, and I would argue development is going to slow to a crawl for a little bit. Moving on, and we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation on Android with Citra Enhanced, and Gamer64 has announced that Citra Enhanced will continue. So here's the statement from Gamer64. "Hey guys, I want to inform everyone that Citra Enhanced is going to be continued and rebranded due to the stop of Citra development. I'll rebrand the project with a new name due to the reasons that we all know, but there is also some bad news. Citra switched to Kotlin language and I have zero experience on it, so I may be a bit worse now or slower until I get adapted to it." He plans on naming it Lemonade. Also, the project will be started from zero, so the first release may take some time. So far in terms of development, it appears he's added in opacity controls, so we'll see where things go from here. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And on top of that, the performance-based fork of Citra, Citra MMJ, where MMJ stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, is still alive and kicking as far as I know. If you wanted to check out both of these, I'll drop both GitHubs in the description below, and I guess feel free to check them out. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation with RPCS3, and I've got a couple of entertaining pieces of news for you. Number one, RPCS3's YouTube channel just hit 100,000 subscribers, so major congrats to them. And number two, they just put out a very interesting video that I'll recommend and leave in the description below. So this video is a great showcase of all of the recent improvements RPCS3 has gotten, a lot of the things we've talked about in previous videos. And they show them here in games like Gran Turismo 5, Uncharted 3, Demon's Souls, and even more. The video is just over 9 minutes long, and it showcases improvements over the last 2 years. And there's timestamps here for every single game they've showcased. I do recommend checking out this video, it's pretty awesome. And you know what else is awesome? PC gaming. And next up, we're quickly talking about Steam, and Steam just hit a massive milestone. At the time of this tweet, they had crossed 35 million concurrently online users, with 11 million people actively in-game. Now, PC gaming has grown considerably in the last 10 to 15 years and continues to grow, and in my opinion, these numbers are pretty inspiring. And it's worth pointing out that these PC gaming numbers are specifically for Steam. They do not include Epic or Xbox Game Pass for PC or anything else. Next up, we're quickly talking about TikTok, and from my understanding, the US government is getting close on voting as to whether or not to ban TikTok or to force a sale. And it appears that Bobby Kotik is very interested in purchasing TikTok. Now, the price of TikTok is reportedly hundreds of billions of dollars. That's billions with a B. If I had $1 billion, I don't think I'd want to be spending it on TikTok, but maybe that's just me. And I've got no idea what would happen if TikTok had different owners. In my opinion, and without getting political here, the whole TikTok US government saga has kind of been one big trash fire, so I guess we'll see where things go. Next up, we're talking about a bit of a hot take today that's been gaining some traction online, and it's from Nintendo. And they say the 30 FPS is unplayable narrative is one of the worst trends to ever happen in gaming. This asinine PC lame's rhetoric has you passing on great game experiences, yet 95% of you can't tell the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS, unless you're told beforehand. 30 FPS plays fine. Now personally here, I would argue yes and no. I would say yes, 30 FPS can play absolutely fine, and there are some great games out there. There are great games out there that play less than 30 FPS. At the same time though, I think a lot of people can tell the difference between something at 30 FPS and 60 FPS. So let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Can you notice the difference between 30 and 60 FPS? Would you prefer 60 FPS over 30? And would you skip a game that only ran at 30 FPS? Moving on, and we're quickly talking about Nintendo, and today is March 10th, which means it's Mario Day. Nintendo put out a video on YouTube, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. They revealed a few things. The first thing they unveiled is that they're working on another Super Mario Bros. Film, releasing April 3rd, 2026. The second thing here is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, which is releasing on May 23rd. The third thing is Luigi's Mansion 2, releasing on June 27th. And the fourth thing is the addition of 3 more Game Boy games to Nintendo Switch Online, starting on March 12th. We've got Dr. Mario, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. However, some people may have preferred Bob Wolf's presentation on Mario Day instead, and here it is right here. Bob has recommended a bunch of ROM hacks and fan games, and I'll drop a link to this tweet in the description below in the event that you possibly wanted to learn a little bit more. So Bob recommends Super Mario Flashback, Super Quickie World, SMB1X, and Super Mario 64 PC port. Next up, this is a quick one and more of just a heads up. Today, Linux kernel 6.8 dropped. Now this kernel is only going to be supported for a few months, but if you like to be on the bleeding edge, you may want to be aware of this one. So with kernel 6.8 dropping, tomorrow means the merge window for 6.9 is opening, and we'll see that one in possibly a couple of months. Moving on, and we're still talking about Linux, and this is another quick heads up. A Proton hotfix has now been deployed for Apex Legends. This means that Apex Legends is back to being playable on Linux, including the Steam Deck. That is until EA updates it again and breaks things. Next up, we're talking about a brand new ROM hack for Secret of Mana on the SNES that extends the game a little bit. It's called Secret of Mana Plus, and they say this first version of the ROM hack is dedicated to expanding 3 palaces. The Wind Palace, explore this new dungeon and stop the Empire invasion. The Gold Tower, face extra adversaries to obtain the key and climb the added levels. And the Moon Palace, a mysterious presence awaits you in the new depths of this eerie palace. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, I'll drop a link to the romhacking.net page in the description below. Next up, we're talking about DiscCheckEmu, and for those who may not be aware, this is a tool designed to emulate disk checks found in many disk-based games and software, without the need for physical media. They say though that this works only for games and software that employ standard disk checks and or passive copy protections. As far as I know, DiscCheckEmu is still pretty early on in terms of development. The first release was just a few weeks ago. Anyways, they just released version 0.1.0, and there's some optimizations here and some improvements and fixes. And they also released version 0.1.1, which is a minor bug fix release. Moving on, and he's at it again. Video game Esoterica has just put out a brand new video with legal jargon explained in a very understandable way. And he says, Yuzu is dead, Nintendo killed it, so how is it still alive? Additionally, there's a very interesting speculation in there about why Nintendo ended up suing Yuzu, and it was possibly because of the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is reportedly using very similar hardware to the Switch 1, and maybe Yuzu would be able to emulate the Switch 2 pretty quick. And another piece of interesting information from Video Game Esoterica is the fact that the Nintendo lawsuit between Nintendo and Yuzu is contained between Nintendo and Yuzu. It was settled outside of court. Nothing was determined in a court of law. That means if I understand this video correctly, there was no judgment on whether or not anything was actually illegal. And on top of that, he talks about forks and even more. So without spoiling that video, go on ahead and check it out. I'll drop a link in the description below. But moving on, and next up, we're talking about SwitchEmu Mod Downloader, which was formerly known as Yuzu Mod Downloader. And SwitchEmu Mod Downloader just got a brand new update. Now, according to their GitHub, as a result of rebranding from Yuzu Mod Downloader to SwitchEmu Mod Downloader, all previous versions of this app are no longer supported. They're only supporting versions 1.5 plus moving forward. And they just dropped version 1.5.10. They say they've added in a brand new download server. It's a fork of the Switch mods wiki with all mods re-uploaded. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, it's 100% free open source, and I'll drop a link in the description below. And last up here, we're talking about PlayStation and a bug that is impacting a small amount of people, but it is affecting their digital licenses. At a high level here, the bug appears to erase games in the purchase tab in your games library, effectively making PlayStation think you haven't bought them in the first place. Which means if you go to play them or re-download them, you can't. You'll have to re-buy them. And this person here has had their account since 2007, and the only content they can access is after February 29th, 2024. If this bug happens to you, I do recommend checking out this Reddit post. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. There isn't a firm solution just yet. There are some workarounds here that may or may not work. It's a very interesting situation, and one that I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard more about. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.